NBC Sports, home of racing's biggest events, proudly presents Summer at Saratoga.
Today, as the Saratoga 150 celebration continues, Kentucky Derby winner Orb, Belmont Stakes victor Palace Malice, and Haskell Stakes champion Verrazano meet head-on in the biggest race for three-year-olds since the Triple Crown, the Midsummer Derby, the Travers Stakes. If August in upstate New York isn't perfect, its only flaw may be that each day is shorter than the last. The chill now found in the misty morning air serves a bittersweet reminder that summer doesn't last forever. But on this particular summer day, something else is in the atmosphere, a sense of anticipation that has been building since the spring toward a showdown in the Spa Track's Midsummer Derby, the Travers Stakes. There is no more suitable setting. America's longest-running major stakes race at its oldest sporting venue that, after a century and a half, still draws decorated champions to its gates for 2 minutes of truth.
It will be Palace Malice and Mike Smith to win the Jim Dandy by a length.
The momentum belongs to trainer Todd Pletcher, who today brings 2 to the line. Will Belmont winner Palace Malice?
It is going to be Palace Malice in the Belmont Stakes.
Or re-emerging Haskell winner Verrazano?
Verrazano is pulling away.
Add more heat to his already sizzling summer. Can Kentucky Derby champion Orb emerge from an 11-week layoff to help his trainer, Shug McGahee, capture his 4th Man of War Cup? Or at a track that has long been known as the graveyard of favorites, will the unexpected prevail yet again to produce another kind of history? Today's truth awaits across 10 famous furlongs. It's Summer at Saratoga. And this is Summer at Saratoga on NBC. And today's feature race, the $1 million Travers Stakes. It's the biggest day of the Saratoga race meeting, Travers Day, magnified by the 150th anniversary of racing at Saratoga. A festive, small-town Americana atmosphere. Nearly 50,000 here for a match between 2 Triple Crown race winners and a brilliant, once-beaten colt who seems to be at top form. We do have news to report, and it involves the Kentucky Derby winner Orb, who was ridden to victory at Churchill Downs by Joel Rosario. Well, yesterday, in the 7th race here at Saratoga, Rosario was injured, his mount Casual Elegance stumbling after the finish line, unseating Joel, who suffered a broken bone in his left foot. He'll be out of action for 6 weeks now and will be replaced on Orb today by Jose Lezcano. So here's the way they'll line up for the Travers. Romanche, winner by disqualification in the Curlin Stakes. Orb, 2.5-length winner of the Kentucky Derby, ridden now by Jose Lezcano. Verrazano, his only loss was in the Derby, winner of the Haskell by 10 lengths. Golden Soul, 2nd in the Kentucky Derby. Will Take Charge, 2nd in the Jim Dandy here at Saratoga. Moreno, front-running victor in the Dwyer. War Dancer, who took the Virginia Derby on grass. Palace Malice, hero of the Belmont Stakes and the Jim Dandy. And Transparent, disqualified from first in Saratoga's Curlin Stakes. And welcome to Saratoga, everyone. Tom Hammond, joined by our analyst Randy Moss and Hall of Fame jockey Jerry Bailey. The Travers Stakes, the oldest race in America for three-year-olds, named for William Travers, the first president of the Saratoga Association, and first run on August 2nd, 1864. That was opening day for the grandstand in its present location. The winner was Kentucky, and one of the co-owners was William Travers. And hopefully today in the Travers Stakes, we'll get some clarification of the three-year-old championship.
After 3 different winners of the Derby, Preakness, and Belmont, we've been looking forward to this Travers for a long time. But it's not just us. I mean, each year after the Triple Crown, the owners and trainers of the top three-year-olds take out that old-school calendar, draw a big circle around Travers Saturday. The money, of course, it's big. It's $1 million, but so is the Haskell, so is the Pennsylvania Derby. It's more than just the money. The tradition plays a big role as well.
Well, jockeys have a smaller calendar, but it still circles the same day, the Travers. It's a challenge for me, at least, to pick one, because horses are like these young teenagers. They change and develop so rapidly from month to month. Once I picked, in 1993, I picked the Derby winner that I rode, Sea Hero, was able to win the Travers on him. Years later, I picked another type of horse, Magdalene d'Oro, who was beaten in all 3 Triple Crown races, but he was the now horse. He was the blossoming horse. He went on to win the Travers, and he might have been the best 3-year-old I ever rode. Today, we have a little bit of both.
Right. Well, you know, fans make that circle, too, for the Travers. They like to be here. It's a tradition. And for more on that, let's go to Donna Brothers.
Well, guys, this is the Midsummer Derby, and as you all know, I live in Louisville, Kentucky. When I got on the plane on Thursday, I was pretty heartened to see 2 separate groups of women who were coming here to the Travers for the weekend. There were 3 ladies sitting in the row behind me, and in the aisle over 2 rows back, there were another 2 women back there. They all had their past performances ready. They were handicapping the races, talking about where they were going to eat, where they were going to go, but more than anything, talking about the Travers. It's all about the Midsummer Derby. Let's go to Kenny Rice.
Thanks, Donna. For thousands of people here today, life is truly a picnic. There is nothing else like the lawn area at Saratoga. And for the serious picnic goers, they arrived at 7 a.m. this morning when the gates opened. You think jockeys coming down the stretch can be contentious? Look at the people, some even leaping turnstiles to make sure they got in here to stake their claim for a picnic table or to put down their lawn chair and have their own spot here at Saratoga. Over the years, people have met here, fallen in love, coming back to celebrate anniversaries. There's family reunions here and old classmates getting together. And 9.5 hours ago, it was really rowdy. It's a little calm right now as they have their own food and drink in here and are enjoying the sunshine of the day. It is indeed a Saratoga tradition. With more, let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
With rich history comes yearly traditions. Here's one. Painting of the colors of a canoe of the winning owners of the championship horse in the Travers. It started 52 years ago in 1961. Last year, a curious dilemma, a dead heat, a tie, if you will, between Alpha and Golden Ticket. I remember being here and one of the railbirds yelled out to me, "What are we going to do about the canoe?" And I said, well, I guess they'll have to bring another one in and paint 2 canoes, and they did. Painting the blue colors of the Godolphin stable of Alpha, and also the green, orange, and blue colors of Golden Ticket. So fast forward to today, and in the unlikely event that Romanche or Transparent wins today's Travers, they're also owned by the Godolphin stable. All they'd have to do is get the Golden Ticket canoe out and leave the Godolphin blue right here in the infield. And then the painter would have a night off, have a nice glass of wine, and a lovely dinner. Back to Tom.
All right, Numi, and our John Deere track conditions show that it is a beautiful day here at Saratoga. Dirt track is fast and firm on the turf course, and they're on the turf course now. There are 4 graded stakes today on the menu here at Saratoga, and the Ballston Spa, $250,000 fillies and mares, 1 1/16 on the turf, is coming up here shortly as they're starting to load into the gate. Virtual co-favorites here, Laughing and Center Court, each at 5-2.
Laughing, who won the Diana handicap here earlier, is probably going to prompt the pace along with number 2, Pianist. Center Court will be in some kind of a stalking position.
Hungry Island getting a lot of play as well, trained by Orb's trainer, Shug McGahee. This should be a real barn burner here. Good race.
Loading in for the Ballston Spa, 1 1/16 on the turf. There's Shug McGahee. And with the call of the race, let's go to track announcer Tom Durkin.
And they're off. Pianist and Laughing going for the early lead. Laughing goes on with it. And then Pianist, Hard Not to Like, is joining the early leaders from the outside. Center Quarters away, 4th, followed by Somali Lemonade. The 3 at the back of the pack are Embar, Hungry Island, and Nizida. The leader will be Laughing into the first turn, but Pianist is right there with her, and so too Hard Not to Like, who's on the far outside. Center Court went wide on the turn. That took Somali Lemonade even farther out. Somali Lemonade is now 5th, Nizida 6th toward the inside, followed by Hungry Island and Embar at the back of the pack. So it's Laughing on top. Jose Lezcano trying to ration out some of that speed here, and Pianist is right there to keep her company down the backstretch run. And then Hard Not to Like gets a good spot, drafting in behind the leaders while running along in 3rd. Center Court on hold, 4th toward the inside, 4.5 from the lead. Somali Lemonade is right alongside her. Following Somali Lemonade is Hungry Island on the outside. Down toward the rail is Miss Ida. Embar trails the field behind an ordinary half mile of 48 2/5 seconds. Laughing the leader now by a length. Pianist comes back for more on the outside. Laughing and Pianist head-to-head for the lead. Hard Not to Like right there and behind them. Hard Like Tonight now. Looking at 3 wide move as they come to the top of the stretch. And Somali Lemonade is in full flight too. And Hungry Island's just in behind the lead. And Center Court down toward the inside. Coming into the final furlong. Laughing and Pianist. Pianist and Laughing. Nothing between those two for the final 1/8 of a mile. Hard Not to Like, well behind in third. They're coming down to the finish. Laughing and Pianist nip and tuck as they come to the wire. And Laughing's got the lead. And Laughing has got the Ballston Spa. Narrow lead defeating Pianist. And it was close third there between Hard Not to Like and Hungry Island.
So Laughing grabbing the early lead and holding it all the way for the 1 1/16 to win it under Jose Lezcano, who will be on Orb in the Travers. His second victory on the afternoon and a good way to get ready for the Travers.
Yeah, Laughing's third victory in a row. Jose Lezcano, who rode her in the Diana, put her on the lead just as he did earlier in this meet. The turf course has been a little speedy. Speed's been doing pretty well. Inside post. Pretty much no strategy involved there. Fast as you can, as far as you can.
Boy, this 5-year-old mare has just really gotten good now. The Grade 1 Diana, which we brought you earlier in the meeting, like Jerry said, won in almost the same fashion. You give her the early lead, and she is an absolute tiger to get past. And Pianist tried her all the way down the lane. Couldn't get by her. We thought Laughing was really laughing after the Diana. Now she's really in a good mood after this.
Laughing in the colors of Richard Santulli and trained by Alan Goldberg. Jose Lezcano aboard. She's the unofficial winner in the 25th running of the Ballston Spa here at Saratoga. NBC's coverage of summer at Saratoga is brought to you by Saratoga Racecourse, celebrating 150 years of thoroughbred racing. There's a look at the 5-year-old mare Laughing, winner of the Ballston Spa here at Saratoga. And here are the payoffs. $730 to win on Laughing, with Pianist second and Hard Not to Like getting up for third. And a hefty exacta there, with the long shot Pianist being second and paying $57 to place. The exacta was $48.80. Well, a big crowd here for the Travers, nearly 50,000, and 14 races today. And it's the first Travers Day for Chris Kay as president and CEO of the New York Racing Association. And yesterday he spoke with Kenny Rice.
Chris, you've had success as an attorney, as a businessman, and now about 2 months on this new job. So I know you know a little bit about horse racing coming in. What have you learned over these 2 months?
Well, Kenny, I've learned it's an incredible sport. And there are so many wonderful, talented people that care a great deal about the sport and about horses. So what we're going to do is try to give that same experience to as many of our fans as possible.
Which leads to the guest experience, as you like to call your fans that come out. What has the guest experience entailed so far?
Well, it goes 2 different ways. Number one, we enhance the guest experience to try to provide you with an experience you've never had before. So what we're doing, for example, is trying to find ways to connect our fans with our jockeys. On Friday, we had a wonderful ceremony. It was called Jockey Appreciation Day, where we recognized the careers of 3 of the most successful jockeys in the history of Saratoga. Your own Jerry Bailey, Angel Cordero Jr., and Johnny Velazquez.
Some of the people, when you were hired on the board, said one of the things that they liked about you was the business background, that all of horse racing, New York racing in particular, needed business as much as knowledge about horse racing. I guess you would obviously agree with that.
Well, I've been given a wonderful opportunity, and I'm very grateful to the board for selecting me. The governor has selected a fantastic group of people for our board. They're talented and successful in so many different areas that will be important to us as we restructure or reprivatize our organization.
Who's going to win the Travers today?
I wish I could tell you, but Andy Serling said if I told anybody what my pick was, he was going to hunt me down and kill me.
See how quickly you have learned on the job in less than 2 months.
I am a quick learner. When it comes to that kind of stuff, I'm a very quick learner.
Chris, best wishes.
Thank you very much, Kenny.
Thank you.
Have a great day here at the spa.
Always. Thank you.
Well, Kenny also asked him about naming a new NYRA chief operating officer, and Kay said next week they'll start looking at other positions in the racing and day-to-day operations. And let's take a look now at the Travers odds. As you see that Verrazano is the 2-to-1 favorite, and really unusual that there is such a high number of Kentucky Derby horses racing in the Travers. 5 of them. As you see them, we highlight their odds. And speaking of the Kentucky Derby and these 5 horses that come back here in the Travers, break it down for us.
Well, you see Orb, you might be able to see him. He's got a lot of mud on him. Joel Rosario, he's got the white cap. He was 16th early in the race. Now, Orb was coming off 2 great victories in the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby, so he was on his game, but he also got a wickedly fast pace, and for a come-from-behind horse like him, that's exactly what he needed up front.
You know, we all know how important pace is, especially in the Kentucky Derby, but I think a lot of us, I know me for sure, underestimated exactly how significant, exactly how impactful that one of the fastest paces in Derby history would be. Wait till you see this. This pretty much illustrates it. All the horses that were early, that on the lead early, including Palace, Malice, Oxbow, Verrazano, all backed up late. Since the Derby, they've won 5 of 11 starts. The Preakness and the Belmont, the Jim Dandy, the Haskell, the Pegasus at Monmouth. Now, all those horses that were way back early in the Derby, benefiting from those fast early fractions, including Orb, have come back to be winless, 0 for 8 since that Kentucky Derby. We know Orb is a good horse, obviously, but the pace probably helped him, and maybe even the sloppy track too, more than maybe we were willing to admit after the Derby.
I think so, and I think he was exposed to some degree because of that in the Preakness, where it was a very slow pace, and he couldn't close into that.
Well, of course, Wayne Lucas starts Will Take Charge in the Travers today. He started Will Take Charge and Oxbow in the Derby. Oxbow would come back to win the Preakness, and a little earlier he spoke with Donna Brothers.
When your Preakness winner, Oxbow, came out of the Haskell Stakes a little worse for the wear. Can you give us an update on his status?
He's going to be, I think, fine. We're going to give him some time off. Obviously, he was very good to us, and we don't want to push it. We're going to give him all the time he needs. We're probably going to miss the fall races, so there's no hurry. We'll try to get him back in the spring.
I'm glad we're going to see him again. You've got Will Take Charge in the Travers today. He hit all 3 legs of the Triple Crown. Maybe didn't run as well as you would have liked in the Triple Crown races, but a super race last time out in the Jim Dandy when he ran second. How's he been doing up here?
Well, I think that even though he was went through the Triple Crown races, he's a big, big horse. I'm talking about a horse that's 17 hands and maybe a little better. And he was immature a little bit, and he's getting better. As he gets a little bit older, those big horses start to get better and stronger, better in their stride. The Jim Dandy, I think, was maybe a pivotal race for him because he came around really well there. I need to see another one today, though, and we're going to have to move forward. This is not an easy spot.
All right, Wayne, good luck to you. Wayne Lucas looking for another big effort from his runner, Will Take Charge, in today's Travers.
It would be Wayne's 3rd Travers victory if Will Take Charge can get it done. We're underway on Travers Day number 144 at the Spa. Michael J. Fox returns to NBC in the new comedy The Michael J. Fox Show, Thursdays this fall here on NBC. And welcome back to summer at Saratoga. Still to come, the $1 million Travers Stakes featuring Orb, Palace, Malice, and Verrazano. As we mentioned, it was a big day for stakes races today. We've seen 2 graded stakes already, and another one coming up. It's the Grade 1. That's the highest level of American racing. The Grade 1 King's Bishop, run for the 29th time. $500,000 the purse for 3-year-olds going 7 furlongs. See the odds there with the favorite, 40 Tails, at 5-2.
And that is a gate full of horses. Look at that, 14 to fill the starting gate. And there is 40 Tails right there, a horse that has a come from the clouds running style. He may not be 14th early, but he'll probably be 11th, 12th, or 13th in the early running.
And it was scheduled to be ridden by Joel Rosario. He is injured, and so it's Julian Leperoux aboard.
And the biggest challenge for 40 Tails is the navigation through all these horses, in between them, around them. He's the fastest horse in the race, at least on paper. He's been the most consistent, winning 3 in a row. And he's had a win over this racetrack, which is important. But I have a feeling that he's going to have some problems getting through the traffic or have to go extremely wide in order to win today.
He beat a 7-horse field last time out of the Amsterdam. Before that, in a race at Belmont Park called the Woody Stevens, he beat an 11-horse field and had some traffic to navigate through that day. Now, throw 3 more in there to get in his way, and that's the biggest challenge, definitely.
Which is always a challenge from a come-from-behind horse, but he will have enough pace up front to set it up for him, and that pace could come from Let 'em Shine, probably. Minter Kane. There's a variety of horses in here that could prompt or lead the way early. Number 5, you see Majestic Hussar right there. He's a horse that could be close to the lead, but probably will sit just back off of it because it's going to be blistering today. He's very effective, has a win over the course here too. He was pretty effective earlier, even though he didn't win the Fountain of Youth, Randy. He hung in there very well in fast fractions.
And he has speed. He has a lot of speed. But in a race like this, when you have just a wickedly fast horse in Let 'Em Shine, one of the fastest horses probably for the first quarter mile in stakes competition in America, he's going to have to learn today to be a little more patient and probably sit back in second or third behind Let 'Em Shine. Speak of the devil, there he is right there. He looks really slow right there. wait till the gates open. Oh my gosh.
He's getting some play. He's 4-1 at the moment, Let 'Em Shine.
Yes, as soon as the gates open, you'll see him leave there like his hair's on fire because he is very, very fast. He did not hang on in the Woody Stevens at this same distance. He was on the lead early, kind of folded a little bit the last 100 yards or so, but that race wasn't on his calendar but by design. It was an add-in late in the game. This race they have been pointing for all year, so I would suspect, especially on a track that has been pretty kind to speed, especially inside speed today, that he might be able to hang on.
As a grade 1 race, I mean, you know you're always going to get top-class racehorses in here, but this has actually been a decent prep race for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I mean, 9 out of the last 14 years this race has been run. The winner went on to run in a Breeders' Cup race, usually the Sprint, but Caleb's Posse won this race and won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. You rode Squirtle Squirt to win the Breeders' Cup Sprint after winning the King's Bishop.
See that Declan's Warriors getting some play also, and now at 4-1.
In the Woody Stevens at Belmont, a race we were referencing earlier with 40 Tails, he and 40 Tails were running as a pair coming down the stretch, closing. There was one horse in the middle of the racetrack that was kind of stopping, and they split this horse. Declan's Warrior had to veer just slightly inside, but he still was second best. I don't know how he's going to make up the difference today. He did have a race. He was beaten in the Amsterdam by 40 Tails again, so he's going to have to get a little bit lucky to win today.
Tom can tell us about this horse, the name, right?
Yeah, Slán is the 4-horse. It's a Gaelic phrase, and the command has been given for riders up, so the horse is starting to make their way toward the racetrack.
Slán has never run in Stakes Company, even though he's coming off a win. It would be a big step up in him for company.
And the horses are making their way along the walking ring toward the racetrack. You see that Slán is one of the long shots in this field of 14.
It's not all about the 3-year-olds today at Saratoga, but mostly. I mean, the Travers, obviously, for 3-year-olds will be your what we would call, I guess, our long-distance specialist in America, going a mile and a quarter. These are the dragsters. These are the 7-furlong fast horses we'll see here.
In a lot of years, you'll get horses that just couldn't quite go the distances of the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont. Yeah. And they're good horses, but they back them back down to this distance. And what makes this particular race, this running, so good is you've got horses up front that can win if let go easy enough. You've got horses in the middle that can win if they get a lucky trip. And you've got some very talented horses coming from behind. So top to bottom, very deep race.
Yeah, overanalyzed in this race, the 9-horse. He ran in the Kentucky Derby and the Belmont, and now they're backing him down to 7 furlongs. They tried Majestic Hussar on the Triple Crown Trail. He ran in the Fountain of Youth. Fast pace, as you mentioned, backed up, so they focus now on sprints for him.
And no one dominant, of course, as evidenced by the 14 that went through the entry box for the King's Bishop. Here's the call to the post. And the horses will make their way onto the track for the 29th running of the King's Bishop, $500,000 at 7 furlongs. And here is our daily racing form post parade. And making their way out. The 7 furlong distance, of course, is a little bit in between. 6 furlongs, the most prevalent distance in American racing, but as we said, still considered a sprint when you think of the classics, the 1.25 mile Derby, the 1 3/16 Preakness, and the 1.5 mile Belmont. And there is number 1, Saludos Amigos. Only 1 career victory, but he has run decently in graded stakes company, including a 3rd to 40 Tails in the Amsterdam here, the first time he was ridden by Jose Ortiz. Number 2 is the favorite, 40 Tails. Powerful trainer Todd Pletcher, who leads the standings here at Saratoga. Julian Leperoux replacing the injured Joel Rosario. The only thoroughbred starter for Peretti Farms of Pennsylvania, previously a standard bred operation. 40 Tails has won 3 in a row, including the Amsterdam in his last. Number 3 is Capo Bastone, another Pletcher horse, beaten by stablemate 40 Tails. In both the Derby Trial and the Woody Stevens, the name means underboss in Mafia terminology. Number 4 is the aforementioned Slán The name is a Gaelic Irish phrase used to bid goodbye to someone traveling home. His mother is safe return. First start in a stakes race for the Dale Romans trainee. 5 is Majestic Hussar, 2 wins in 3 starts at Saratoga. For this speedy colt, who was beaten 9 lengths by Orb in the Fountain of Youth. 1 start since. That was a win here at Saratoga. Number 6 is Bad Hombre. It took him 7 races to win his first, but he's been good since then. His last race, he was moved to 2nd in the Curlin Stakes at Saratoga. Number 7, Mentor Kane, the owner-trainer combination of the great Zenyatta here. This colt has only raced 4 times with a win and a 4th in Saratoga's Amsterdam. Number 8 is Declan's Warrior. John Velasquez and Nick Zito team up on this colt, who won 4 of his first 5 races, then was beaten by 40 Tails in the Woody Stevens and in the Amsterdam. Number 9, Overanalyze. He's won over $1 million from Mike Rapoli and Todd Pletcher. Numbers among his victories, the Arkansas Derby. In his last race, he was 3rd in the West Virginia Derby and ridden by the meet's leading rider, Javier Castellano. Number 10, Let 'Em Shine. Hall of Famer Mike Smith rides this colt, who has speed. He's won 3 in a row, who had run 3 in a row until he was 4th behind 40 Tails. That was in the Woody Stevens. Number 11 is Integrity, beaten favorite in his last race, a 7-furlong Saratoga allowance when he was bumped at the start. First starter in this race for trainer Chad Brown, who grew up in this area. Number 12 is Central Banker, trained by Al Stahl, ridden by Robbie Alvarado. He's had only 1 start since November. That was a win in a small stake here at 5.5 furlongs on the turf. Number 13 is Miraculosmo. Rosie Napravnik rides for Dale Romans. Big step up for this colt, who's raced only twice, breaking his maiden here on July 20th. And number 14, No Distinction. Joe Rocco rides for the first time. This colt has 3 wins, was sent 2nd to Central Banker in his only stakes race start. So that's that bulky field of 14 for the 7-furlong King's Bishop, which is coming up as we continue with summer at Saratoga. Much has been made about history in this sesquicentennial anniversary of racing at Saratoga, and rightly so. A lot can happen over 15 decades. But history is not what makes this place unique. Saratoga's unmistakable allure comes not from what once was, but what still remains. Settled in the woodlands of rural upstate New York and 3 hours from Boston, Montreal, or Manhattan, this is your grandfather's sporting event. Cruise through town, pay a few bucks to park on someone's lawn for the day, and make the migration down Nelson Avenue into yesterday. Crowded yet cordial, serene yet stimulating. Time spent on these hallowed grounds offers the opportunity to rub shoulders with today's headliners while simultaneously standing in the steps of the greatest that have ever been. It retains an innocence that is not often found anywhere, let alone the cutting-edge world of professional sports. A magical place where those lucky enough to be brought as youngsters long for the day they'll return with their own. A living reminder of a time gone by that hasn't, at least not here. This is a beautiful, unique place. It is like stepping into yesteryear sometimes, and yet here you have quality racing, including today's Travers, the headliner, still to come. But the King's Bishop is up next. Another Grade 1 race at 7 furlongs for 3-year-olds, and 40 Tails continues as the favorite at 5-2. One of the interesting horses in this race, however, is Mentor Kane.
Yeah, there's something to keep your eye on. I mean, Mentor Kane has a lot of early speed. He'll be right up there along with Let Him Shine on the early lead. But look at his last race, the Amsterdam, July the 28th at Saratoga. Normally, speed horses want to stay close to the inside and save some ground. That's Mentor Kane, 3 wide, or it looks like he's 3 wide. 2 horses come up inside of him. Upon further review, when you see another angle of this, Edgar Prado on Mentor Kane, look at that. He is not, as they say, cornering very well.
And I asked Edgar about this, and he said, you know, the race before he lugged in. This one he lugged out, so he's a bit erratic. Edgar did work him inside another horse in between that race and this race. He doesn't expect there to be a problem, but he's waiting for one.
And you saw him flash across the wire. He still finished 4th, beating only 2.5 lengths. So with a straighter trip and a little closer to the rail, he obviously would have been even closer.
Mentor Kane, owned by Mr. and Mrs. Jerry Moss and trained by John Sheriffs. If those colors look familiar, if you're a horse racing fan, Zenyatta comes to mind. The same owner, trainer, same colors, of course. Let's go to Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Tom. I'm with the well-known Hall of Famer and native New Yorker Nick Zito has Declan's Warrior in this race. You've won virtually every race up here at Saratoga except
King's Bishop and the Alabama. Yeah.
And the King's Bishop shapes up for
Declan's Warrior, I hope. Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be wonderful. Obviously, Kim's the breeder, my wife, and the family had a lot to do with this horse, so I'm hoping. Johnny worked him last week. Wonderful workout, and if he could come back to that, you know, he'll run his race.
Nick, as a native New Yorker, you've won the Travers before. You've come close several other times. What's this whole experience like to be here, Travers Day, at a big stakes race?
Well, I think you could just see it's electrifying. You know, it's the equivalent of the World Series or Final Four, whatever you want to call whoever I'm leaving out. It could even be like the Super Bowl, because today I've never seen a crowd like this, and the excitement's here, and I hope my good friends at NBC can root me on, because this will be special.
All right. Good luck to you, Nick. Thank you. Tom?
All right, Nick. The always popular Nick Zito with Declan's Warrior, ridden by John Velasquez.
Extra special for him, since, as he pointed out, he and his wife Kim actually own the horse, as well as Nick training the horse. 0 for 10 lifetime Nick Zito is in this King's Bishop.
Beginning to load into the gate for the 7-furlong King's Bishop. And again, there are 14 horses in this field. You see the double load, loading 2 at a time. Still takes a while to get them all secured into that starting gate.
So keep your eye on the 10, Let 'Em Shine, when they leave the gate, along with the 7, Mentor Kane, and I think the 5, Majestic Hussar.
I think Majestic Hussar will probably be laying 2nd or 3rd down the backside. These jocks better not let them shine off to an easy lead early on in the race. It'll be hard to run down.
And here's Tom Durkin with the call.
They are in the gate. And they're off. Let Him Shine, Miraculous. Mentor Kane has some early speed. And down from the inside, Saludos Amigos. The field moves up the backstretch here, and Let Him Shine out for the lead. No distinction up 2nd on the outside. Integrity's in between horses down toward the rail. Mentor Kane now 2nd. No distinction, runs in 3rd. Integrity is now 4th. Majestic Hussar's Fish. Lanuelia is 6th. And then Saludos Amigos 7th on the inside, 3 lengths back. And Bad Hombre is now racing 8th. Miraculosmo 9th on the outside of Central Banker, running along in 10th. And then farther back, Capo Bastone is 11th. Overanalyzed is now 12th. 40 Tails will have to pass 12 horses here. He has 1 horse beaten a long way back to Declan's Warrior, who's absolutely lethargic. 22-1 was the opening quarter mile. As the field rounds the far turn and heads to the top of the stretch, they got a half in an eye-popping 44 3/5 seconds. And Mentor Kane rolls into the stretch with the lead. No distinction is now 2nd on the outside, and right there he bumped with Majestic Hussar. Mentor Kane arrives at the 8th pole, and he's 3 lengths clear. Majestic Hussar 2nd on the inside. Here comes Capo Bastone with a bold late rally, and then farther back, Central Banker. Can Capo Bastone do it here? Yes, he did. A 28-1 shocker in the King's Bishop. Mentor Kane was 2nd. 40 Tails finishes on a photo at the end with Central Banker for the 3rd money. The time was 1:22-1.
122-1 for Capo Ballston, who came charging on the outside through the stretch under Irad Ortiz Jr. And Todd Pletcher wins another stake at Saratoga.
Capo Ballston broke his maiden in his first out at Del Mar last year and was considered to be a leading 2-year-old candidate for this year's Kentucky Derby. He never quite duplicated that win. Was switched to Todd Pletcher this spring, ran an allowance race and won, but he has been really ineffective except for a second the Derby trial since then.
He was almost an afterthought for this race. I mean, Todd Pletcher only ran him in there, only put him in the entry box just because he's been training so well. He thought, well, let's just give it a shot, you know? I mean, we know he's going to be closing ground, and certainly he closed ground like a shot here as he burst through between horses. Last year, a horse named Willie Beeman won the King's Bishop, paid $24.80, was the biggest long shot in the history of the race. This horse is twice that price. And there you see him just flying on the outside past a very tough Mentor Kane, who ran straight today and ran a heck of a race as well.
Just when you think it's very good news for speed horses on the inside, you see a horse like this coming from behind. Good news for Orb that you can close that much ground on this racetrack.
In the colors of Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners and trained by Todd Pletcher.
Pletcher, of course, had the favorite 40 tails in this race. How many times do you see? We've seen it a lot with Bob Baffert and with Todd Pletcher when they run multiple horses in a race and everybody's focused on one horse, and here comes the other one with the same running style that 40 tails have.
And you see Donna alongside the winner. Donna?
Well, I'm here with Irad Ortiz, who's been doing nothing but loving on Capo Ballston since you pulled up. Irad, you and your horse are covered with dirt. Obviously, you didn't have a clean trip. Tell me about your trip in this race.
My thing, first thing I want to say, thanks God, and thanks the trainer and the owner that give me the opportunity in the horse. And the trainer told me, try to find one trip, you know, she comes running in the end. She always close, but she don't feel too much there in the face. It's hard, you got 14 horses. You know.
So the trainer tells you to get a good trip, come from behind, but try not to get too much dirt, and you're covered.
And try, you know, but she just, I'm safe ground, come, like he told me, pick it up in the 3-8 port, she pick it up, and she just pass, come over everyone.
So you were able to save a little ground, and he just came with a huge kick late. At what point did you realize you had it won?
When in the quarter port, when I started moving, she picked it up pretty good.
Well done. Congratulations. Let's go to Kenny Rice.
All right. Thanks, Donna. Winning trainer Todd Pletcher. Another win here at Saratoga. Congratulations. Of the three you brought in, was that the one you had handicapped to win?
He wasn't necessarily the one we thought that would win, but we felt like he was training very well. His work here on Sunday in company with Verrazano was the reason we entered him. It was very good.
Sizzling pace out there. How were you feeling when they turned for home?
Well, all three of our horses were pretty far back. We were hoping they'd go fast enough, and, you know, we'd find a seam in a 14-horse field. I felt like the trip was going to be a key part of it.
And another big one coming up later on, Verrazano and Palace Malice, and it keeps going for you.
Hopefully, hopefully.
All right, good luck. We'll talk more about that later on, Todd. Let's go back to Tom.
All right, Capo Ballston, trained by Todd Pletcher, winning the King's Bishop and paying $58.50 with Mentor Kane second and Central Banker third. Capo Ballston had lost to his stablemate 40 Tails in his last two races. Today he turns the tables as 40 Tails runs fourth as the favorite. Look at that exacta payoff. That would have been sweet, wouldn't it? Capo Ballston wins the King's Bishop, and now all that remains is the $1 million Travers Day at Saratoga. Well, Capo Ballston wins the King's Bishop. Irad Ortiz in the saddle. The first winner he has ridden for trainer Todd Pletcher. It's a memorable one for him as he takes the King's Bishop as a long shot. Well, we turn our attention now fully to the Travers, and you know it's kind of a rare thing to have the Derby winner take on the Belmont winner without the Preakness winner in the field. Last time it happened was 1993 when Kentucky Derby winner Sea Hero took the measure of Colonial Affair, the Belmont Stakes winner, to win the Travers under Jerry Bailey. And here's the statue of Sea Hero here at Saratoga commemorating that win in the Travers. And here are the current odds as you see. And Orb, despite the jockey change, getting some play. Verrazano is the 3-2 favorite. 2-1 on Orb now, who was 4-1 on the morning line. And you know, Orb is coming off the 77-day layoff And that's got to be some sort of concern for people at back Orb. What about our formulator fact?
Well, the formulator fact will make you feel a little bit better if you like Orb. It's obviously a disadvantage to come into a race like the Travers off of a layoff. Orb hasn't run since the Belmont, but when you look the last 5 years, trainer Shug McGahee, who's an 18% trainer overall, has actually got some pretty good percentages in graded stakes and 4 for 5 in grade 1 competition with horses coming off a layoff. It's still a disadvantage, but if the race sets up for him properly, he could be there.
He needs pace, and he needs not to have to go so terribly wide to win.
Well, right now, his trainer, Shug McGahee, is with Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Tom. Well, let's see, the last 24 hours, Joel Rosario gets injured. Jose comes in to replace him, but first you had to get doctor's clearance because a horse fell on him in the starting gate yesterday. He got cleared this morning. Gee, what else has been going on? What's this been like with the jockeys?
It's been quite a morning, I'll have to say that. But I got reassurance. Jose's agent's a friend of mine that he was fine, and then I talked to the clerk of scales and said he came in there fine, and I've seen him ride a couple pretty good races today, so we're not worried about that part of it.
As far as Jose, I know you know him. This is the first time he's ridden Orb. What basic outline do you just give him in general, just about the horse as much as the race?
Yeah, I'm just going to tell him to try to get him away from there and sort of have him in the mix, but not take him out of his game plan. Maybe save some ground going around the first turn and just get some position, you know, when it comes time to where we got someplace to go.
And Orb, he gets a couple of months off. That's kind of unusual for some of your horses, but he has 2 months off before he gets back into the things here today. What have you noticed specifically about him, Shug, that you're impressed with?
Well, I think it's, you know, I think he's gotten stronger, which he should have. His hair coat looks really good. You know, he's kind of got that gleam back in his eye that maybe he lost right after the Belmont. So, you know, I'm pleased with the experiment. We'll just see how it works today.
Is that a gleam in your eye?
Yeah, I'm very happy with where he is today. You know, I mean, he was only off 2 weeks down there, so you know, we've been riding him ever since. He had 5 or 6, 7 decent works, and his last work before he came up here was really good, and he blew out really well. So, you know, I got no second thoughts.
Good luck, Shug.
Thank you, Kenny.
All right, Tom.
All right, so Shug sounds pretty confident about Orb, who has the long layoff, but by all accounts, when he went to Fairhill, Maryland, he has blossomed there. And we just wonder about that layoff of 77 days, which would be one of the longest in Travers history for a winner.
And the fact that Jose Lezcano now picks up the mount instead of Joel Rosario, it doesn't bother you at all, Jerry, right? I mean,
no. Listen, when a lot of the horses I rode, probably the majority of the horses I rode them for the very first time. And it's maybe not as easy as getting in somebody's car and adjusting the mirrors and the seat, but it's not too much different from that. I mean, he's seen the horses' races on film. He's watched him all year. He'll warm him up to get a feel of his action, and he knows how the horse wants to run.
And he has no preconceived notions.
Well, I think a horse runs best the way they want to run. And if you're riding a horse for the first time, as you point out, then you don't force your will on them, and you don't try and recreate something that you did last year in a winning effort. So you're pretty much letting them do what they do best.
Now, we already said he doesn't really like to be inside. That was a big issue in the Preakness Stakes. So what do you do?
I think he said, just like Shug said, if I were riding the horse, I'd save ground on the first turn because I pretty much know I'm going to have to angle out on the second turn. But with this type of field, you're not talking a Derby field of 20 horses. So my guess is 4 wide would be a pretty good trip turning for home.
And Shug called this an experiment. You heard him use that word. I mean, for example, Palace Malice ran in the Belmont, and he came back and ran in the Jim Dandy as a prep. Shug elected right after the Belmont to wait for the Travers Stakes and not have a prep race because Orb was so tired having run in all 3 of the Triple Crown races. We'll see if it pays off.
And there is Orb. He'll be saddled before long to compete in the Travers. The fans have him at 2-1 at the moment.
Somewhere nearby, something.
While today is a showdown for 3-year-old supremacy, some of these competitors could be major contenders when racing returns to NBC. The Breeders' Cup Classic in prime time, the $5 million showdown for Horse of the Year, the 2013 Breeders' Cup World Championships, November 1st and 2nd on NBC and NBC SN. In fact, 16 horses that ran in the Travers have finished in the money in the Breeders' Cup Classic over the years. Check the current odds here. And the favorite is Verrazano, who is at 8-5 and 3-1 on Palace Malice. So the 2 Pletcher horses getting a lot of play from the bettors here, including Verrazano, the favorite. And Palace Malice, we were here when he won the Jim Dandy, and it was quite an impressive performance.
It was, and it comes off a spring that wasn't particularly impressive, trying to find his identity. Well, he found it at the Belmont, and he found it again here in the Jim Dandy. Second fastest finishing time in history, so it was a pretty impressive race. I would say Palace Malice is blooming at this point in time.
A quick recap, a quick primer on Palace Malice. For those of you that haven't been following the Triple Crown that closely, he was an underachiever all spring long. Todd Pletcher loved him. They put those blinkers on in the Kentucky Derby. He ran out of control, responsible for that fast pace. Blinkers came off, and then he wins the Belmont and then wins the Jim Dandy, and he really is one of the now horses.
Well, speaking of a now horse, how about Verrazano?
Well, Verrazano, the very next day, after Palace Malice wins the Jim Dandy, runs in the Haskell at Monmouth. All he does is win by 9 3/4, the fastest race leading into the Travers by any horse in more than a decade. But there are skeptics about Verrazano in this spot.
Well, leading into the Kentucky Derby, I was a pessimist watching his Wood Memorial. I didn't think he was on his game. Totally opposite right now. I'm a believer after the Haskell, but I still have a doubt in my mind if he's a true 1 1/4 horse with these type of horses. He's going to have to get a good trip, I believe, and that's not a given.
And it wasn't just the sloppy racetrack that Todd Pletcher noted that beat Verrazano in the Kentucky Derby. I think the pace had an awful lot to do with it as well, and he may not have liked the 1 1/4.
Well, we've already seen Todd win the King's Bishop, and he is loaded here for the Travers. A few moments ago, he spoke to Bob Newmeyer.
Well, to say he has a double-pronged attack would put it mildly with Palace Malice and Verrazano. Let's start with Palace Malice, first of all. And that is, do you believe it's an advantage that he had that Jim Dandy race in the Jim Dandy, a race, in fact, over the track?
Well, he's 2 for 2. He broke his maiden here last year. He's trained very well over the track, and I think it's always an advantage if you don't ship and you stay home and get a race over the track. So we're hoping, those will play in his favor.
Let's talk about Verrazano now, a eye-popping race at Monmouth, to say the least. People are wondering about the 1 1/4. Can you train a horse, Todd, to get the 1 1/4, or do you have to see it before you believe it?
I'm pretty sure he can get it. He finished the 1 1/8 Haskell on a very demanding deep racetrack with his legs underneath him pretty well, finished strongly, galloped out strongly, and he's always trained like a horse that'll get, the distance. So we're going to find out today, but it surprised me if he doesn't.
He would be perfect without that blight in the Kentucky Derby. What happened that day?
It rained like crazy, and he didn't handle the track at all. He was in big trouble, spinning his wheels from the get-go, and that'll happen in the Derby sometimes. Churchill's a peculiar surface, and on that particular day, it was very odd.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Todd Pletcher.
All right, so Todd has Verrazano at 8 5 and Palace Malice at 3 1.
Yeah, Palace Malice, I think, has now found his identity. Had 5 different riders leading into the Triple Crown. As Randy mentioned, blinkers off, blinkers on, blinkers off again. I think they found his running style. I think Mike Smith, who's now his regular rider, fits him really, really well. He's got a perfect post to dictate at least the first part of the race, so he's got a lot of things in his favor. Is he good enough is the question.
And Verrazano?
Verrazano's probably not going to get the same kind of trip that he has gotten in some of the races in which he's been the most impressive, like the Haskell. You don't want to be standing behind him right now. Be careful. And, with his stablemate Palace Malice in the race, it really makes this setup very interesting. But if Verrazano runs the same way today that he did in the Haskell at Monmouth, he'll win. There's very little doubt about that. That's just the big question.
So Todd Pletcher has 2 in the Travers, and among the favorites to win that $1 million race.
I'm mic'd up.
There is no more suitable setting on the sport's most historic grounds, its most historic stakes race. A summertime spectacle dating all the way back to the Civil War that has provided thrills season after season. An overtime period for the Triple Crown, where questions are answered and scores are settled.
And Runaway Groom from Canada moves up. Runaway Groom in front.
Sea Hero is the hero again as he triumphs in the Travers.
We humans have all the questions. The horses have all the answers. And it's finally their turn to talk. The 144th running of the Travers Stakes is coming up next. And there's the scene in the beautiful paddock here at Saratoga as we check the odds again. And 34-1 on Romanche, and Transparent 17-1. Those are the two Godolphin-owned horses here in the Travers. And they are the subject of our daily racing form pedigree profile.
Both are sons of 2006 Travers winner Bernardini, who won that race in a gallop. Watch jockey Javier Castellano right there. Anytime a jockey is petting your horse in the deep stretch, it's a good sign. Bernardini won by 7.5 lengths for Dubai's ruling family, the Maktoums. He's become a heck of a sire as well. 2 summers ago here in Saratoga, 2 yearling sons of Bernardini sold a half hour apart. The first went for $750, bought by the Maktoums. That one, $725,000, also bought by the Maktoums. And now Romanche and Transparent are all grown up. 4 weeks ago here at Saratoga, it was Transparent over Romanche in the Curlin Stakes at Saratoga. Transparent would be disqualified to 5th, but here they are today, both in the Travers Stakes, where incidentally sons of Bernardini have won the last 2 runnings. Stay Thirsty back in 2011, and Alpha, who was a co-winner last year.
And 2 different trainers as we get the call to the post. The daily racing form post parade is up next. And the one horse is Romanche, tamed by Tom Albatrani. The name is an ethnic group and language in Switzerland. The colt is a son of Travers winner Bernardini, as we noted. Trained by Tom Albatrani was Bernardini, so he's hoping for another win in the Travers. This horse placed first in the Curlin Stakes here when his stablemate Transparent was disqualified. Number 2 is Orb. His victory in the Derby marked 5 wins in a row. Everyone was excited about a possible Triple Crown winner, but then he was 4th in the Preakness, 3rd in the Belmont. That was 77 days ago, but Shug McGahee says he's blossomed after some R&R. Number 3, Verrazano. Since his debut on New Year's Day, he's been brilliant. His only loss in 7 starts was a 14th in the slop at the Derby. He recorded the highest last race buyer, 116, with his nearly 10-length win in the Haskell. Number 4 is Golden Soul, bred and owned by geologist and diamond miner Charles Fitke. He was 2nd in the Derby, but then 9th behind Palace Malice in the Belmont, and 7th, beaten nearly 30 lengths by Verrazano in the Haskell. Number 5 will take charge. Hall of Fame trainer Wayne Lucas has taken the Travers twice, the last time with Thunder Gulch in 1995. Will take charge, a $425,000 Keeneland yearling, was a non-factor in the 3 Triple Crown races, but was a good second here in the Jim Dandy. Number 6 is Moreno, named for Michael Moreno, whose Southern Equine is owner and breeder of this speedy gelding. It took him 10 races to win his first, but since then he took the Dwyer and then was 3rd in the Jim Dandy. Number 7 is War Dancer. All but one of his 7 races had been on turf. In fact, he has never been worse than 3rd on grass, 4th in his only start on dirt. He comes off a head victory in the Virginia Derby. Number 8 is Palace Malice. After setting that suicidal pace in the Derby, Todd Pletcher took the blinkers off for the Belmont. He stalked the pace to win by 3, then used the same tactics with his impressive win over this track in the Jim Dandy. And number 9 is Transparent. Like Romanche, owned by Sheikh Mohammed's Godolphin. This one trained by Kieran McLaughlin. And after crossing the finish line on top in the Curlin Stakes at Saratoga, disqualified to 5th for interference, making Romanche the winner. And that's your field for the $1 million Travers Stakes for 3-year-olds, contested at the classic distance of 1.25 miles and run today for the 144th time. Back to Saratoga in just a moment.
NBC and Verizon Wireless.
Time won't play by anyone's rules. The hours will pass, the days will go by, the seasons will change, and summer will always come to a close. But there's still time to cement your legacy.
Orb has won the Kentucky Derby for Shug McGahee.
Time to prove that you belong.
Verrazano is pulling away.
Time to write another chapter in the history of America's longest-running stakes race.
It is going to be Palace, Malice, and Mike Smith in the Belmont Stakes.
You can't do anything to stop it. All you can do is enjoy it while it lasts. The 144th running of the Travers Stakes is moments away. And as post time approaches for the Travers, let's recheck the odds. And the big three, what about their odds? Well, 8-5 Verrazano is the favorite, with Palace Malice and Orb co-second choices at 5-2. But the big three, there are some questions about each one of them. Verrazano, well, the big question mark regarding him is, can he get a mile and a quarter? Palace Malice, well, is he for real after his 2 wins after a not so top spring? And Orb, will the 77-day layoff affect him? Let's go to Kenny Rice.
All right, thanks, Tom. Talking to Todd Pletcher, the last-minute instructions he gave to Johnny Velasquez and to Mike Smith, he kind of smiled. So what else can I tell these guys? They know them well. Talking about Verrazano, he feels very comfortable that he will get the distance. He told Johnny V, you know what to do with him. Same with Mike Smith. Everything's been coming into play with Palace Malice, so why change things? So basically, as you would expect, all is normal. At least that's what Todd Pletcher is saying as he sends out his 2 all-star jockeys on his 2 all-star horses. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer.
I talked to Shug McGahee about the options he had with the injury to Rosario. Interesting, he said it was either Lescano or Rosie Napravnik, and he went with Lescano because he's had luck with Jose over the years, and Shug said he's a fine rider. Rosie is as well. It's just that he feels that Jose will fit Orb very, very well. And then I went to Jose and I asked him about this opportunity, and man, that smile from ear to ear. He knows this is a big spot for Lescano. And I asked him, did Shug give you any specific instructions? He says, no, he's going to let me ride my race. I will say one thing. McGahee was very pleased that Capo Bastoni came from off the pace to win the King's Bishop, because it's been all speed, 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 and Orb figures to come off the pace here today. Tom?
All right, Bob, and as they approach the starting gate, you know, they're pretty evenly matched, and the trip may decide the winner of this race, and there is a race within a race.
I think you're right on. Because they're so closely matched, Johnny Velasquez on Verrazano is on a horse that really would like to be on the outside, stalking his prey as they go down the backside, but he's drawn inside, so how does he get out? Mike Smith on Palace Malice loves that same stalking trip, but he's already out there, so his job is to keep Verrazano and Johnny Velasquez in there. And they can't forget about Moreno. He's probably going to be on the lead. He probably won't last, but he's fairly good quality, so you can't give him everything. But they both Johnny and Mike Smith have to worry about going too fast, because then it sets it up for Orb coming from way behind.
Both Hall of Fame riders, but there's another good reason why Todd Pletcher didn't give too many instructions before the race. It's a no-win situation for Todd. Different owners on these 2 horses with completely different agendas. Todd's worst nightmare is that Palace Malice and Verrazano get in each other's way and cost each other the race. But if you're the owner of Palace Malice, you want Mike Smith to keep Verrazano in a trap, because that's probably one of your toughest competitors, if not the toughest competitor. So different agendas here. Todd was in a no-win situation.
And when I asked Mike Smith, I said, what is your perfect ideal trip going into the first turn? He said seeing Moreno and Verrazano going head and head up there on the lead, burning themselves out.
Let's get a quick comment from Donna on horseback.
Well, guys, Verrazano looks great out here. Keep in mind, his workmate this last couple of weeks has been Capo Bastone, and we saw what happened in that last race with Capo Bastone. So he's been training well here over this track, and I will say that Orb looks good. You know, we wanted to see how he'd look from Fair Hill. I think his weight looks good. He looks like he's primed for a good effort, Tom.
All right, with the call of the 144th Travers Stakes, $1 million for 3-year-olds over a mile and a quarter. Let's go to the voice of Saratoga, Tom Durkin.
They're in the gate. And they're off in the Travers. It was a good start for Romance down toward the inside. Moreno's coming up from mid-pack now and up and after the lead. Verrazano forwardly placed, and Johnny Velasquez immediately guides him out of harm's way to the outside. Under the line the first time. And the front runner here's a long shot. It is Moreno out there by a length. Romance down on the inside. Runs along in second. Verrazano just off the lead on the outside, running along in third. Orb is fourth, and in between horses will take charge, is fifth under a very easy pace in the early going here. And then it's Golden Stole. He's only about 7 lengths from the lead, followed by Transparent. Palace Malice has only 1 horse beaten, and that is War Dancer. The opening quarter mile was 24 2/5 seconds. So Moreno out there on a 2.5 length lead. 30-1 and the leader down the backstretch. Verrazano continues on the outside of Romance. Up the backstretch after a 48-4 opening half mile. The pace is slow to develop. Will Take Charge, and Orb, the Derby winner. Orb is now about 5.5 lengths from the lead. And then it's Golden Soul toward the inside, running along in 6th. Palace Malice, the Belmont winners, near the back of the pack today. And just in between horses there goes Transparent and another 3 to War Dancer into the far turn. Moreno still there with a half mile to go. 3/4 up in 13-2. Verrazano on the outside. Orb will try to make his run through down toward the rail. Romance is in between horses now with less than 3 furlongs to go. Will Take Charge is only 3.5 lengths from the lead. Palace Malice is starting to get it away as the field comes to the quarter pole. Moreno and Orb is trying to come through on his inside. The field turns for home. Moreno right off the turn, but he's still in front. Orb is charging in him now. And at the top of the stretch, it is Orb down toward the rail. Moreno finding out on the outside. Romance is 3rd. Will Take Charge is 4th. Moreno and Orb head-to-head. Palace Malice coming on the scene late. And then it's Will Take Charge. Moreno and Orb as they come down to the finish. Will Take Charge with the late surge. Will Take Charge is surging. And it's a photo finish. It's too close to call. Will Take Charge with a dramatic lunge at the end. And did he nail the long shot front runner Moreno? It was very close. And close for 3rd as well between Palace Malice and Orb. A thriller in the Travers.
Well, it was indeed a thriller, and the graveyard of favorites once again. Saratoga in the Travers Stakes. Will Take Charge and Moreno in a photo too close to call, as Will Take Charge came on late under 21-year-old Luis Saez. It could give D. Wayne Lucas, the Hall of Fame trainer, his 3rd Travers victory.
And it looked like Will Take Charge to our eyes probably got his nose down on the wire, but boy, what a race.
Well, there's a longer list of things that were such a surprise. First, Palace Malice not getting away from the gate very well, and thus he was almost last, if not last, early in the race. Orb coming through on the rail, something that none of us thought he really enjoyed, being side horses, made a good run of it. Moreno, I mentioned he's a quality horse. If left alone on the lead too long, he could win. He almost did. But I didn't expect Will Take Charge to bring that effort that he had in the Jim Dandy again.
And here's the finish again coming up. Let's see. Will Take Charge on the outside. Moreno between horses. Certainly one jump past the line. It was Will Take Charge. Let's see if we can.
He's got a big white nose. It'll be easy to see if he gets it down on the line. Boy, what a gritty race Moreno ran. As we get to the wire, Will Take Charge. Oh, that's close. I still think Will Take Charge got it by a flared nostril, but boy.
Well, Moreno got away with easy fractions, and there's the win photo. It is Will Take Charge. Will Take Charge wins the Travers over the gutty Moreno. Let's go to Donna.
Luis, this is your first time to ride this colt. What's your impression of him?
Well, I want to say thanks God. Lucas, everybody's coming here and see this champion. This is my first time I ride some, no, my second time, third time. Ride some big stay, and this.
But your first time to ride this horse. What do you think about him today?
Oh well, I like a lot of horse. This horse worked really good, training good, and last time when he's finished second, all the time I see the replays, and I know how to ride it. Today, try to ride like how he run, and thanks God he win the race.
Congratulations, Luis. Let's go to Bob Newmeyer. I think Luis is kind of speechless, Bob.
The cowboy rides again. How are you doing it, Mr. Lucas, at your tender age?
Well, I'll tell you what, I changed up with things. I took a chance on an up-and-coming rider, and I thought my horse trained well, but these are so tough. I mean, they're so tough. And about at the 3/8 pole, I thought we'll get a piece of it, but I didn't know if we'd get up.
This horse did absolutely nothing in the Triple Crown, and yet you ran very fashionably to Palace Malice and the Jim Dandy. What caused the turnaround?
Well, Bob, he's a little over 17 hands, and he's just starting to find himself. He's like that big freshman kid that's a Jockey basketball player, and by the time he's a senior, he's slam dunking. This horse is going to get better. He's getting his act together. I feel comfortable where I got him.
The Preakness and now the Travers. How does that sit with you, Mr. Lucas?
Well, it feels pretty good. It's been a little while, and they were reminding me it's been a long time between drinks. But when they come like this, they count double.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Here's Tom.
All right, Bob, so here are the payoffs. We'll take charge, paying $21.20 to win. Moreno was second, and Orb got up for third, and the Exacta paying over $300. In the Travers, we'll take charge. Lucas was one for his last 40 at Saratoga before he wins his third Travers Stakes with Will Take Charge. Wow.
Want to look at the races in
Nita Park, the Breeders' Cup, coming this November to the NBC Sports Network and NBC.
There's Travers winner Will Take Charge in the colors of Willis D. Horton of Marshall, Arkansas. He is a son of Unbridled Song, who passed away just at the start of the Saratoga race meeting from the top race mare Take Charge Lady, bred in Kentucky by Eaton.
We see it coming down the stretch. Will Take Charge with a white face, screen left. Now, blinkers were off after the Belmont, much like blinkers were off Palace Malice after the Derby. He is the now horse. He ran a very good second to Palace Malice in the Jim Dandy with the blinkers off. Here he comes back and wins. He had a ton of trouble in the Kentucky Derby. Probably should have finished much closer, so he's fairly legitimate.
Orb gets through along the inside. That was a surprise. The inside didn't seem to bother him, but it appeared to me that maybe after the layoff he came up just a little bit short. And just didn't quite have the usual kick that he has. Palace Malice obviously completely compromised by the start. Verrazano exposed at a mile and a quarter.
Orb finished third, Palace Malice fourth, and Verrazano was up the track. Our big three, as Will Take Charge pulls the upset. Join us for an extended wrap-up of the action here in Saratoga right after today's coverage. Go to NYRA.com. Next Saturday, Summer at Saratoga coverage continues on NBCSN for the running of the Woodward, Bernard Baruch, and Forgo. Summer at Saratoga continues next Saturday, 4 Eastern on NBCSN. From Saratoga, Tom Hammond for all of us at NBC saying so long.